Republicans in the United States of America have stated that they have practically come to terms with the fact that they will not win the midterm elections to the US Congress in November. It all stems from Donald Trump's actions. Annual inflation has jumped to nearly a 3-year high. Americans are viewing Republicans in Congress more negatively, are dissatisfied with how President Donald Trump is handling inflation, and are increasingly negative about the war with Iran. And Trump's approval ratings in several polls have dropped to their lowest level during his second term. And the main message from the White House, that the situation is still better than it was under Joe Biden, is hardly working anymore. And now several polls have actually shown that more and more Americans are dissatisfied with the actions of US President Donald Trump amid the war with Iran and rising prices. The disapproval rating of Trump's policies has reached a record 62%. Meanwhile, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent admits that the decline in energy prices will begin, God willing, by the end of this year. But as Scott Bessent says, there's no point in expecting a return to pre-war gasoline prices at all. My name is Alexei Pecci, let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, please subscribe to this channel, like this episode, and leave a question. Комментарий под этим видео. Subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peachy News. The link is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So, the MS Now agency surveyed Republican senators and congressmen ahead of the elections and heard something shocking. Republicans have almost come to terms with the fact that they are most likely going to lose the elections this year. According to the agency, annual inflation has jumped to a 3-year high, and Americans are viewing Republicans in Congress more and more negatively because they do nothing to oppose Trump's actions and only indulge his wishes. Americans have a negative attitude toward Trump's war against Iran, but even more so toward the issue of inflation. Well, his approval rating in several polls has dropped to its lowest level. Next, I'll quote it. The White House's message that the situation is still better than it was under Joe Biden is hardly working anymore. At first glance, this seems like a winning message for the campaign. A defense focused on the past, at a time when voters are asking questions about the future. About prices in grocery stores, prices at gas stations, and a war with no obvious end, and privately, even some of Trump's aides admit this. Right now, the mood is that we understand we're already doomed in the midterm elections, a White House official told MSNBC. And to understand these pessimistic moods, we need to look at the cold numbers and hard indicators. For the first time since 2010, voters say they trust Democrats more than Republicans on economic issues. And now, attention. According to a recent poll by the Republican TV channel Fox News, 52% trust Democrats and 48% trust Republicans. I emphasize this is a Republican poll. Republicans have mostly downgraded their outlook for the rest of this year. Energy analysts warn that oil prices could rise even further. And Moody's recession model now puts the odds of a US recession in the next 12 months at 50-50. But what was even more interesting was what the US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had to say. He suddenly stated that energy prices, which are currently rising rapidly due to the war in the Middle East, should go down, but not now, at best by the end of the year. According to him, oil prices after the end of this conflict will be significantly lower, but not immediately. And the longer this war lasts, says Bessent, the longer it will take for the market to recover. But it is already clear that the Republican Party is entering the midterm congressional elections with high gas prices. And historically, this has always influenced voter sentiment in the US. Nevertheless, here is what IMSNO writes. The White House urges not to count the Republicans out. If 2024 has shown anything, they say, it's that the political situation can change dramatically in just a few weeks. The news changes quickly, and voters have short memories. According to one official, the White House's internal polls don't look good, not as pessimistic as the public ones. There's still a lot of work to do, and that's no secret, but there's also plenty of time, said the official. At the same time, frustration is growing among Republican strategists. They believe that President Trump and his team are taking too long to focus on key issues. Instead, Trump is busy with the war with Iran, as well as building a $400 million ballroom in the White House. Что стало все-таки политической проблемой? It's a symbol of a certain disconnect from the real problems of the voters. That is, voters are facing rising gas prices, rising food prices, and increasing inflation. And at this time, Trump spends $400 million building a ballroom where he will have fancy dinners with guests. At the same time, more and more Americans are dissatisfied with the actions of President Donald Trump amid the war with Iran and rising prices. Now, the most interesting part of this episode: the level of distrust in Donald Trump's policies has reached 62%. Moreover, these are the results of surveys conducted by 3 media outlets: Washington Post, ABC News, and Ipsos. This is a record for the entire time Trump has been president, including his first term as well. The president's overall approval rating has dropped to 37%. At the same time, among independent voters, only 25% support Trump. Foreign policy and the economy are hitting his approval rating the hardest. 66% of Americans already criticize the US war against Iran, and only 33% view it positively. 34% of citizens support Donald Trump's economic measures. The drop amounted to 7 percentage points amid a spike in gas prices, and as Besant said, we shouldn't expect gas prices to go down before the end of this year. So those ratings will drop too. Approval of the president's handling of inflation has dropped to 27%. Trump received his lowest ratings for his handling of the cost of living. Only 23% of Americans approve of it, while 76% disapprove. 76% of Americans say that Trump's policy on the overall cost of living is terrible. It's viewed negatively. It's bad. 76%. And here's the paradox, because even the traditionally strong immigration issue for Donald Trump has also turned negative. 40% of Americans approve of the measures in this area, while 59% hold the opposite opinion. They are against Trump's immigration policy. Moreover, doubts are growing among Americans about Trump's ability to govern the country at all. 59% believe that he lacks mental sharpness. 55% think that his physical condition does not allow him to effectively perform the duties of the president. Another 71% of citizens consider him dishonest and unreliable. 67% are confident that he cannot make balanced decisions. And 54% describe him as a weak leader. Key figures in Trump's administration also received negative ratings. In particular, Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., FBI Director Kash Patel, Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And the only one who had a positive net approval rating was the head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, with whom Trump, I remind you, has a conflict. And against this background, the Republicans risk losing their positions in Congress. According to the poll, the Democrats are already ahead of them by 5 percentage points in the House of Representatives elections, and among voters without clear party preferences, the gap is even larger, 49 to 32% in favor of the Democrats. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. Also, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation or a paid membership using the links and details in the description. I would appreciate any support from you. And you can also use the QR code on your screens. It's the easiest and most convenient way to support the YouTube channel. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.